Scientists say every animal on this list is extinct. The problem is that people keep reporting them anyway. A giant snake, so large that eyewitnesses claimed it was longer than a school bus. A predator from the Ice Age that may have survived far longer than anyone thought possible, and one species that scientists aren't just searching for anymore. They're actively trying to bring it back. Most of these stories sound impossible, but some are surprisingly difficult to explain. So let's look at 7 extinct animals that might still be alive. Number 7. Titanoboa. What if the largest snake in history never completely disappeared? In 1907, explorer Percy Fawcett claimed he shot a snake nearly 60 feet long in the Amazon rainforest. Most scientists dismissed the story immediately. But more than a century later, reports of enormous snakes still emerge from remote parts of South America. And that's partly because we know an animal like that once existed. Its name was Titanoboa, the largest snake ever discovered. Researchers estimate it stretched more than 40 feet long and weighed over a ton. It was so massive that even a modern anaconda would look small beside it. For millions of years, Titanoboa ruled the swamps of a prehistoric world, a world much hotter than our own. That's one reason many scientists doubt modern sightings. Titanoboa reached its incredible size under environmental conditions that no longer exist today. Without that extreme heat, maintaining such a massive body becomes far more difficult. Still, the Amazon remains one of the least explored places on Earth. New species are discovered there every year. So while a living Titanoboa is extremely unlikely, stories of giant snakes continue to survive for a reason. But giant snakes aren't even the most unbelievable survival story on this list, because the next creature was one of the most feared predators of the Ice Age. Number 6. Saber-toothed cat. If these witnesses were telling the truth, one of the most famous predators of the Ice Age survived thousands of years longer than it should have. That's exactly what 3 farmers in Paraguay claimed in 1975. According to their account, they saw a massive cat with 2 unusually long fangs extending below its jaw. No photographs were taken, no physical evidence was found, but the story spread anyway, because the description sounded remarkably similar to one of the most recognizable predators in history, the saber-toothed cat. The animal most people imagine is Smilodon. Its enormous canine teeth could grow longer than a human hand. Around 10,000 years ago, the world around it changed dramatically. Shortly afterward, the species disappeared, at least officially. Over the years, occasional reports surfaced from remote regions of South America describing unusually large cats with oversized fangs. But the problem has always been the same: no bones, no DNA, no verified photographs. And scientists point out another obstacle. Those famous teeth were highly specialized. Animals built for one specific hunting strategy rarely adapt well when their environment changes, which makes survival unlikely. Still, even if a saber-toothed cat somehow survived, it wouldn't be the strangest extinction mystery on this list, because the next animal supposedly vanished alongside the dinosaurs. Yet people still claim they're seeing it today. Number 5. Mosasaur. Every few years, fishermen report seeing something that shouldn't exist. A massive shadow beneath the water, too large to identify, too brief to photograph. Most of these sightings are dismissed almost immediately, but they continue fueling one of the internet's favorite extinction theories. Could a mosasaur still be alive? Mosasaurs were enormous marine predators. Some species grew nearly 50 feet long and ruled the oceans for millions of years. Then, around 66 million years ago, they disappeared. Officially, that should have been the end of the story. The reason people still question that conclusion comes down to a single discovery. Mosasaurs haven't left anything. No verified photographs, no remains, no DNA, nothing. And researchers point to another major problem. Unlike fish, mosasaurs breathed air. A surviving population would have to surface regularly, making it far harder to remain completely hidden. Still, vast areas of the deep ocean have never been explored. And as long as that's true, the theory probably isn't going away. But at least the mosasaur is believed to have disappeared millions of years ago. The next animal survived far more recently. In fact, it was still alive while the pyramids of Egypt were already standing. Number 4. Woolly mammoth. If this footage were real, Extinction would have to be rewritten. In 2012, a blurry video from Siberia exploded across the internet. The footage appeared to show a large, hairy animal walking through a river. Almost immediately, people began asking the same question. Could it be a mammoth? The idea sounds ridiculous, but that's exactly why millions of people watched the footage. Because if it were real, it would completely change what we know about extinction. The woolly mammoth was one of the most successful animals of the Ice Age. Most mammoths disappeared around 10,000 years ago as the climate warmed and their habitat slowly vanished, or so scientists thought. Then researchers made a surprising discovery. A small population survived on Wrangel Island until roughly 4,000 years ago. That means mammoths were still alive while the pyramids of Egypt were already standing. A fact that sounds almost impossible until you realize it's true. The famous Siberian video eventually received a far less exciting explanation. Most experts believe it likely showed a brown bear carrying a fish through shallow water, not a mammoth. But mammoths remain unique for another reason. Unlike most extinct animals, scientists aren't simply studying them. Several research teams are actively working on projects that could one day create mammoth-like animals using preserved DNA and modern genetic engineering. So while there is no convincing evidence that mammoths still roam the Arctic today, their story may not be over just yet, because the next animal is probably the most famous extinction mystery on Earth. Number 3. Megalodon. If Megalodon still exists, it isn't hiding from us. It's hiding in the largest habitat on Earth. The ocean covers more than 70% of our planet, and vast regions remain largely unexplored. That's one reason the world's most famous extinct shark refuses to disappear from public imagination. For decades, fishermen and sailors have reported seeing enormous sharks in parts of the ocean humans rarely visit. Most scientists dismiss those stories immediately. But one fact keeps the theory alive. We've mapped more of Mars than we have of our own seafloor. And when so much of a habitat remains unseen, it's easy to imagine something slipping through the cracks. The Megalodon was the largest shark known to have existed. It grew more than 50 feet long. Its teeth could be larger than an adult human hand. A modern great white would look small beside it. For millions of years, it dominated the oceans. Then, around 3.6 million years ago, it vanished. Most researchers believe cooling oceans and declining food supplies eventually drove it to extinction. That should have been the end of the story. Instead, sightings, documentaries, and internet theories kept the legend alive. Part of the mystery comes from how little we actually know about the animal. Unlike most predators, sharks have skeletons made largely of cartilage, which rarely fossilizes. As a result, much of what scientists know about Megalodon comes from its teeth. The evidence for a living Megalodon remains extremely weak. Scientists point out that a giant predator would require enormous amounts of food and would almost certainly leave evidence behind. Yet no verified body, DNA sample, or photograph has ever been found. And still, the question refuses to die. Not because the evidence is strong, but because the ocean remains one of the last truly unexplored frontiers on Earth. And as long as those unexplored places exist, people will continue asking the same question. What if it's still down there? But despite all the theories surrounding Megalodon, there is one animal whose survival is considered far more plausible. An animal that disappeared less than a century ago, and one that people claim to see even today. Number 2. Coelacanth. Before we get to the strongest case on this list, there's one animal that completely changed how scientists think about extinction. Because unlike the others, this one actually came back. For decades, the coelacanth was believed to have vanished 65 million years ago. According to everything scientists knew at the time, it belonged in the same category as the dinosaurs, gone forever. Then, in 1938, a fishing trawler operating off the coast of South Africa pulled something extraordinary from the water, a living coelacanth. The fish everyone thought was extinct was alive. The discovery became one of the greatest surprises in zoological history. Coelacanth populations are known to survive in deep waters around Africa and Indonesia, and their discovery created a question scientists still can't completely ignore. If one species could remain hidden for millions of years, what else might still be out there? And that brings us to the animal with the strongest modern case on this entire list. Number 1. Thylacine. The last confirmed thylacine died in captivity in 1936. Officially, that was the moment the species disappeared forever. The animal, often called the Tasmanian tiger, was a striped marsupial predator about the size of a large dog. For decades, farmers blamed it for livestock losses. Governments paid hunters to kill it. Eventually, the population collapsed, and by the mid-1930s, the species was declared extinct. That should have been the end of the story. But something strange happened. The sightings never stopped. Not in the 1940s, not in the 1960s, not in the 1980s, and not today. Thousands of reported sightings have been recorded across Tasmania. Most are easy to dismiss. Some aren't. Experienced hunters, former park rangers, and people familiar with local wildlife have all claimed to see a striped animal moving through remote forests. In 2017, researchers launched an investigation after receiving reports from two particularly credible witnesses. One was a former park ranger. Camera traps were deployed. Search areas were mapped. Months passed. Nothing was found. Yet the reports continue every year, and unlike many animals on this list, the thylacine disappeared less than a century ago, not millions of years ago, not thousands, less than 100 years. Then came an even bigger development. In 2023, scientists achieved something remarkable. Researchers successfully extracted usable RNA from a museum specimen that had been dead for more than 130 years. For the first time, functioning genetic instructions were recovered from an extinct animal. That breakthrough is now helping fuel real-world efforts aimed at recreating the species. Not through sightings, not through rumors. The thylacine existed only in photographs, museum specimens, and old stories. Now, for the first time in nearly a century, scientists are actively attempting to bring it back. The thylacine may still be extinct today, but unlike every other animal on this list, its return is no longer just a theory. And if scientists succeed, extinction itself may no longer be the end of the story.